बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूल अल्लाह। अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या हबीब अल्लाह। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। खोलांक फलक देख, ज़मी देख, फिज़ा देख, मशरिक से उभरते हुए सूरज को ज़रा देख। आज की ये तकरीब सईद इरफानुल हिदाया यूके के प्लेटफॉर्म से एक अजीम नेमत के मिलने पर अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त के हुजूर इज़हार तशक्कुर के लिए सजाई गई है। 19 फरवरी को अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त ने उम्मत मुस्लिमा को एक ऐसी हस्ती से नवाजा जिनकी हैसियत हमारी ज़िंदगी में सूरज की सी है। उनकी हरारत और रोशनी से आलम इस्लाम मुनव्वर और मुस्तफ़ीद हो रहा है, और ये सूरज अपनी पूरी आबो ताब के साथ दुनिया में चमक रहा है। इल्म और इरफान के मोती बिखेर रहा है। उम्मत मुस्लिमा के क़ुलूब में इश्क़ मुस्तफ़ा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की शमा जलाई हुई है। इश्क से दिलों को गरमाया हुआ है। आज की इस तकरीब का उन्वान द मैन ऑफ द सेंचुरी, उसकी निस्बत उससे मुराद भी वही हस्ती हैं जिनका यौम पैदाइश आज हम मना रहे हैं, यानी हुजूर सैयदी शेख-उल-इस्लाम डॉक्टर मोहम्मद ताहिर क़ादरी। वही हैं जो मुजद्दिद हैं, मुजद्दिद रवां सदी हैं। आज के इस प्रोग्राम के बाकायदा आगाज़ के लिए मैं मुल्तमिस हूँ क़ारिया सिदरा अनवर बाजी से कि वो आयात बय्यनात की तिलावत से प्रोग्राम का बाकायदा आगाज़ करें।
अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन। अर्रहमानिर रहीम। मालिकि यौमिद्दीन। इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन। इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तक़ीम। इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तक़ीम। सिरातल
ماشاء اللہ. یہ تھی قاریہ سدرا انور جو تلاوت کلام پاک سے ہمارے قلوب اور اذہان کو منور کر رہی تھیں. ماشاء اللہ، بہت ہی خوبصورت آواز اور انداز. اللہ رب العزت آپ کو مزید برکتوں سے نوازے. خدا کا ذکر کرے ذکر مصطفیٰ نہ کرے، ہمارے منہ میں ہو ایسی زباں خدا نہ کرے. اب میں گزارش کروں گی محترمہ باجی غلام فاطمہ سے کہ وہ آقا علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کی بارگاہ میں نذرانہ عقیدت پیش کریں.
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد. اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم. اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد. میرے مصطفیٰ میرے مجتبی سا حسین آیا نہ آئے گا، سا حسین آیا نہ آئے گا. جسے دیکھنا ہو جو خواب میں تو درود ان پہ پڑھا کرو. اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد. جہاں روضہ پاک خیر الورا ہے وہ جنت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے. کہاں میں کہاں یہ مدینے کی گلیاں، کہاں میں کہاں یہ مدینے کی گلیاں. یہ قسمت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے. محمد کی عظمت کو کیا پوچھتے ہو کہ وہ صاحب کعبہ قوسین ٹھہرے. محمد کی عظمت کو کیا پوچھتے ہو کہ وہ صاحب کعبہ قوسین ٹھہرے. بشر کی سرے عرش مہمان نوازی، بشر کی سرے عرش مہمان نوازی. یہ عظمت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے. جو عاصی کو کملی میں اپنی چھپا لے، جو دشمن کو بھی زخم کھا کر دعا دے. جو عاصی کو کملی میں اپنی چھپا لے، جو دشمن کو بھی زخم کھا کر دعا دے. اسے اور کیا نام دے گا زمانہ، اسے اور کیا نام دے گا زمانہ. وہ رحمت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے. قیامت کا ایک دن معین ہے لیکن ہمارے لیے نفس ہے قیامت قیامت کا ایک دن معین ہے لیکن ہمارے لیے ہے نفس ہے قیامت مدینے سے ہم نثاروں کی دوری قیامت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے تم اقبال یہ نعت کہہ تو رہے ہو مگر یہ تو سوچو کہ کیا کہہ رہے ہو تم اقبال یہ نعت کہہ تو رہے ہو مگر یہ تو سوچو کہ کیا کہہ رہے ہو کہاں میں کہاں یہ مدحائے یزداں کہاں میں کہاں یہ مدحائے یزداں یہ جرت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے جہاں روضہ پاک خیر الورا ہے وہ جنت نہیں ہے تو پھر اور کیا ہے
بہت شکریہ ماشاء اللہ باجی اپنے مخصوص انداز میں بہت خوبصورتی سے اپنی محبت کا اور ہماری محبتوں کا اظہار فرما رہی تھی آقا علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام سے اللہ رب العزت آپ کی آواز میں مزید ساز و سوز پیدا فرمائے اور آپ کو آقا علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کے ذکر کی برکتیں نازل فرمائے یہ صدی میرے قائد کی صدی ہے قرآن کا فہم ان سے ملتا ہے حدیث کا فہم حدیث کا ادراک ان سے ملتا ہے فقہ اور اجتہاد کا علم وہاں سے ملتا ہے فکر انقلاب وہاں سے ملتی ہے فکر آخرت وہاں سے ملتی ہے حسینیت علویت عثمانیت فاروقیت صدیقیت اور محمدیت وہاں سے ملتی ہے اور بلا شبہ دنیاوی علوم کی بات کی جائے تو معاشرت سائنس فلکیات کیمسٹری حکمت تدبر علوم معارف شعر و ادب تصوف سلوک طرز کلام غنا صدق بقا محبت ادب فقیری سرور شوق مستی جذبہ اور رہنمائی غرض کے جو چاہیے اس شخص میں سب مجتمع ہے اب پروگرام کو آگے بڑھاتے ہیں اور میں ملتمس ہوں ایک دفعہ پھر قاریہ اور ثنا خان مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم محترمہ سدرا انور باجی سے کہ وہ آقا علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کی بارگاہ میں درود شریف کے چند اشعار ساتھ میں حضور سیدی شیخ الاسلام کے لیے کلام ہمارے گوش گزار کریں.
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی سلم اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد. اللہ پڑھتا ہے درود اپنے حبیب پر اللہ بھی کیا کرو اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد ذکر الہی کا مرکز آقا کا درود پاک ہے تم درودوں کے گجرے بنا کرو تم درودوں کے گجرے بنا کرو اس ذکر کی نہ کوئی مثال ہے اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد آباد خدا رکھے میرے طاہر تیرا میں خانہ آباد خدا رکھے طاہر تیرا میں خانہ ہو خیر تیرے در کی بھر دو میرا پیمانہ ہو خیر تیرے در کی بھر دو میرا پیمانہ تیرے میں قدے میں طاہر تیرے دم سے رونقے ہیں تیرے میں قدے میں طاہر تیرے دم سے رونقے ہیں تیری جنبش نگاہ سے تیری جنبش نگاہ سے آباد میں قدے ہیں تیری جنبش نگاہ سے اور تو نہ مہربان ہوتے ہمیں کون جانتا تھا تو نہ مہربان ہوتے ہمیں کون جانتا تھا یہ تیرا کرم ہے طاہر یہ تیرا کرم ہے طاہر یہ تیری نوازشیں ہیں آباد خدا رکھے میرے طاہر تیرا میں خانہ ہو خیر تیرے در کی بھر دو میرا پیمانہ آباد خدا رکھے اللہ کا ایک خاص کرم خاص عطا ہے اللہ کا ایک خاص کرم خاص عطا ہے منہاج کے گلشن میں مدینے کی ہوا ہے منہاج کے گلشن میں مدینے کی ہوا ہے اور بغداد کا فیضان ہے حقیقت میں، طاہر پہ حقیقت میں طاہر کی نگاہ ہے، طاہر پہ حقیقت میں طاہر کی نگاہ ہے، اور اس دل میں ہے لوگوں ایمان کی سچائی، جس دل کو میرے طاہر کی نگاہوں نے چھوا ہے، اور بھر جاتا ہے دامن میرا بھیک سے پہلے، مجھ کو میرے مرشد میرے، مجھ کو میرے مرشد میرے طاہر کی دعا ہے، بھر جاتا ہے دامن میرا بھیک سے پہلے، مجھ کو میرے مرشد میرے طاہر کی دعا ہے، منہاج کے گلشن میں مدینے کی ہوا ہے۔ اے میرے مہرباں عظمتوں کے نشان، اے میرے مہرباں عظمتوں کے نشان، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، دور تم سے رہیں غم کی پرچھائیاں، دور تم سے رہیں غم کی پرچھائیاں، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، تجھ پہ سایہ فگن ہو صدا مصطفیٰ، سر پہ چھائی رہے رحمتوں کی ردا، سر پہ چھائی رہے رحمتوں کی ردا، یوں ہی مہکا رہے یہ تیرا گلستاں، یوں ہی مہکا رہے یہ تیرا گلستاں، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، ظلمتوں کے افق کی تو تنویر ہے، تو بلا شبہ حیدر کی شمشیر ہے، تو بلا شبہ حیدر کی شمشیر ہے، نام تیرا رہے زندہ و جاویداں، نام تیرا رہے زندہ و جاویداں، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، میرے اللہ چھوٹے نہ یہ آستاں، ورنہ سمجھوں گا ہے زندگی رائے گاں، ورنہ سمجھوں گا ہے زندگی رائے گاں، نام جپتی رہے دھڑکنوں کی زبان، نام جپتی رہے دھڑکنوں کی زبان، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، عزم و ہمت کے پیکر تیری خیر ہو، میری قسمت کے اختر تیری خیر ہو، میری قسمت کے اختر تیری خیر ہو، تیری شعلہ نوائی پہ قربان جاں، تیری شعلہ نوائی پہ قربان جاں، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری، اے میرے مہرباں عظمتوں کے نشان، طاہر القادری طاہر القادری طاہر
काजी सिद्रा अनवर बहुत ही खूबसूरत अंदाज में आपके और हमारे जज्बात का इजहार कर रही थी। अब मैं इस प्रोग्राम के मेहमान खुसूसी को दावत दूंगी कि वो गुफ्तगू का आगाज़ करें। I have the honor of introducing a distinguished individual who will be gracing our program today, respected Dr. Samra Mursaleen. She is PhD in Islamic Theology and Counterterrorism. I would like you to please share your views and valuable words with us.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate everyone on the upcoming momentous occasion of Huzur Shaykh-ul-Islam's birthday. It's indeed a huge blessing and gift to the Muslim Ummah and to the renaissance of Islam in this Islamic century. It's both a privilege and an honor to be asked to speak about the outstanding contributions of His Eminence Shaykh-ul-Islam Dr. Muhammad Tahir Qadri and his accomplishments in relation to the impact that he has had on English-speaking Muslims living in the West, and the way his works have influenced the perception and understanding of Islam, especially in the UK. The brief time that I have is undoubtedly insufficient to do this topic any justice at all. All I can do is to endeavour to provide a snapshot or a snippet of this crucial topic. It's not an exaggeration to state that Islam has been and still is the most misrepresented and misunderstood religion, particularly here in the Western world, where it's perceived in many circles to be a religion of extremism, radicalism, violence, and terrorism, as well as misogynistic, irrational, and primitive. There have been a constant stream of attacks and wrongful accusations levelled at Islam and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These perceptions are often facilitated by the media as well as by the social and political sphere. These dangerous narratives about Islam and Muslims have had disturbing political and social implications here in the West. It's led to the conflation of extremist violence with issues such as national identity, refugee flows, freedom of religion, with populist politicians using the threat of Islamic extremism to justify anti-Muslim policies. Damaging attitudes and overt racism against Muslims are ever more evident in public discourse throughout Europe, with right-wing populist parties having reinforced their positions by focusing on the Islamic threat to the West. At the same time, within the Islamic community, academics argued that there's been a problem in our time of a lack of great Islamic scholarship, that the new generation of Muslims have lost theologically sound understanding of the Islamic teachings, that we are currently living through a reformation with fewer theologians to guide us through it. Due to this, they argue that there's a crisis in Islamic knowledge and a theological shallowness that has saturated Muslim thinking, and that this decline has allowed these misrepresentations and misinterpretations of Islam and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Muslims to persist and to prevail. The contributions of the Islamic tradition, which have the highest level of intellectual and spiritual rigor, have been largely dismissed by many factions in recent times, which has meant that the Muslims have not been able to give complete solutions to the challenges raised by the advent of modernity, because they lack the basic instruments and essential insights of this Islamic heritage. Consequently, there's been a lack of authentic, authoritative, legitimate, and credible Islamic scholars and theologians in our time to comprehensively address and refute these misconceptions about Islam and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this regard, Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam distinguishes himself from the others. He is a scholar of the caliber that is representative of the Islamic scholarly tradition, and he possesses the extraordinarily high intellectual and spiritual rigor that is necessary to be a scholar at the highest level. The fact that he's received hundreds of authorities and chains of transmissions in hadith and classical and spiritual sciences, in addition to his many other intellectual accolades, has meant that he is recognized as the foremost authority on Islamic knowledge in the modern era by scholars and institutions all around the Muslim world. And as we know, he's not only a scholar of the highest distinction, but he is a Mujadid of the Islamic century. What is a Mujadid? It refers to a person who appears at the turn of every century of the Islamic calendar to revitalize Islam, to cleanse it from extraneous elements and restore it to its pristine purity. The concept is based on a hadith recorded by Abu Dawood, narrated by Abu Huraira, who stated that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will raise for his community at the end of every 100 years the one who will renovate religion for it. So it's an incredible privilege that we can witness this in our lives and be a part of this great mission. Moving on to Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam's impact on the Western world, in recent years, he's undoubtedly turned the tables and taken center stage in the domain of how Islam is portrayed, perceived, interpreted, and understood in the West. He's been able to accomplish something extremely important and pressing in recent years through his English language books and lectures, such as the Fatwa on Terrorism and Suicide Bombings, the Islamic curriculum on peace and counter-terrorism, and his peace and counter-terrorism lectures. Through these works, and with an incredible comprehensiveness and robustness, he's been able to de-link Islam from terrorism and extremism, a narrative that has been damaging the image of Islam and Muslims for decades. Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam has changed the perception of Islam from that of a religion of radicalism, violence, and irrationality, to that of a religion of intellectualism, wisdom, moderation, pluralism, tolerance, human rights, equality, love, compassion, benevolence, mercy, moral and spiritual excellence. No other Islamic scholar has been able to do this kind of academic and scholarly work as robustly and as comprehensively as he has, due to his extensive research and religious evidence spanning over 1400 years of Islamic scholarship. Through his writings, he has guided young Western Muslims away from radical interpretations of Islamic doctrines and given them the theological confidence to oppose violent extremist narratives. Professor John York, a professor of human rights at a British university, is one of many who have endorsed and praised Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam's counter-terrorism works. He lauded the Islamic curriculum on peace and counter-terrorism as, quote, an intellectual activity that has the formidable potential of saving many lives, and it is clear that it's a humane contribution to mankind. It teaches about the inherent dignity and human rights concepts that scholars of organizations such as the United Nations, the African Union, the Council of Europe, and the European Union would be acquainted with, and that certainly the Organization of Arab States would indeed benefit from by engaging with these teachings. This is an impressive endorsement. And it was these works that inspired me to undertake my PhD, which analyzes the contribution of Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam's counter-terrorism works in the context of the counter-terrorism and counter-extremism discourse in the West and the de-radicalization of British Muslims. During my research, I found that no academic or scholar had matched the works of Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam on the subject of counter-terrorism in the context of Islamic theology. Through his works, he has also expanded on how Islam and the Holy Prophet ﷺ revolutionized women's rights, providing women with rights to property, rights to be educated, to be financially independent, to be protected and honored in society. Minhaj Quran provides a space and a platform for women to thrive and exhibit their many skills and talents for the good of their communities. This leads on to the uniqueness of Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam's current English translation of the Holy Quran, known as the Glorious Quran, or in Urdu, Irfan al-Quran, which was published in 2012. In order to meet the requirements of the modern reader, this translation of the Quran may be the only one in English to utilize a contextualist methodology. This contextualist approach, which has been applied, is an interpretation technique that is grounded in the ideas of the revelation period and contemporary times. It acknowledges previous approaches to interpretation appropriately and takes into account the social, political, and cultural conditions of our time. It takes a scholar of the highest caliber to translate the Quran in this manner due to its various complexities and the need for the translator to be able to apply the principles of interpretation, which are made up of numerous components. For instance, the Quran contains numerous verses that contain terms with multiple meanings and implications. Only in the context of the verse's contextual conditions, historical background, correct judicial meanings, prophetic statements or commands, and the core Quranic teachings can these meanings be understood. In his own written work titled The Methodology of Quranic Interpretation, Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam explains his methodology in detail. He notes that he's taken an in-depth approach to comprehending individual verses and words in their historical context, constantly referring to the Quran itself, along with works on Quranic exegesis, hadith, linguistic works, and of course the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. He explains that the principles of interpretation, including intertextuality, the context of the revealed verses, and the science of transmission, guided his interpretation. Additionally, he has recognized previous approaches to interpretation from the classical and early periods, while also being aware of the social, political, and cultural context of today. For instance, the prevalence of the violent extremism narrative and anti-Islamic rhetoric. On the other hand, due to the textualist approach taken by other English Quranic translators, their interpretations lack historical context and judicial principles within the verse, increasing the likelihood of misinterpretation and misunderstanding of the verses. Conversely, Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam's contextualist approach has resulted in the assertion of parentheses to incorporate the legal ruling and historical background into the verse. This means that the reader can no longer separate the verse from its context, and so prevents anyone from misinterpreting verses of the Quran. This has been particularly significant for the verses pertaining to jihad in the context of military warfare, as these are the verses that violent extremists have misinterpreted, decontextualized, and misconstrued to justify their violent actions, as well as critics of Islam who have done the same to support their idea that Islam is a violent religion. By contextualizing the jihad verses in his translation, Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam has ensured that they are rightly understood as a state-sanctioned defensive armed combat, or jihad in the military context, rather than indiscriminate killing. He has rendered these harmful and incorrect readings of these texts ineffective. In addition to this, his English books and lectures on the topic of jihad have addressed the misconceptions surrounding this concept, emphasizing that jihad in Islam is a broad and nuanced concept that, contrary to what violent extremists and opponents of Islam would have you believe, offers a guarantee for the establishment of world peace through individual and collective action. He's expanded on the different types of jihad, such as self-purification and fighting the soul's evil tendencies, spreading knowledge that is beneficial to society's well-being, fighting for social reform and democracy through non-violent means, standing up to corruption and other social evils, practicing charity and aiding in the alleviation of poverty, and of course, making it clear that jihad bil-qidal is not an offensive war, but rather a just war waged in self-defense and as a defensive strategy against aggression. Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam has continuously taught Islam through the prisms of human rights, pluralism, tolerance, charity, peace, and security, using 1400 years of classical Islamic knowledge and the majestic nature of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the foundation for these teachings. Throughout his life, Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam has clearly shown the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's balanced and moderate outlook on life, his kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Muhammad the Merciful, Islam on Love and Non-Violence, and Islam on Mercy and Compassion are his 3 English language publications, which are included in the Islamic curriculum on peace and counter-terrorism, in which he has detailed the kindness, generosity, and compassion of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, towards men, women, children, and people of all faiths. He has discussed in his writings and speeches how the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, detested violence and war, so much so that in order to prevent bloodshed, he did everything he could, even if it meant pledging peace with non-Muslims at a time when that looked to compromise Muslim rights. All of these lifetime endeavours stand alone as outstanding contributions to knowledge for people of all religions and persuasions, as well as a remarkable addition to Islamic understanding for the Muslims, especially those in the West. In addition, these works represent significant advancements in the areas of human rights, women's rights, peace and interfaith harmony, de-radicalization, counter-terrorism, and counter-extremism. Another instance of how his writings have shaped Western perceptions of Islam is his works on spirituality, Sufism, and character development. British Muslims' lived experiences are greatly impacted by these works, which help them navigate and guide every part of their life. It's provided them with meaning and purpose, directing them to a higher spiritual aspirations. Their views and decisions regarding morality, character development, personal spirituality and responsibility, civic duty, integration, accountability, family, friend, and neighbour rights, and humanitarian activities are all impacted by the spiritual works of Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam. British Muslims have been motivated and inspired by his teachings to integrate into British society and develop into morally upstanding, law-abiding, conscientious and productive citizens, contributing to the moral fabric of society and also providing them with confidence in their Islamic identity. Hazrat Shaykh-ul-Islam teaches us to use legal avenues to voice our social and political problems without resorting to radical views and actions. He's exhorted us to engage in democratic activities, including voting, engaging with the political process, and peaceful protests. His spiritual teachings on love, tolerance, respect for other people, and interfaith cooperation, using the teachings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the great scholars and saints of the past, and the principles of Sufism, have overall inspired British Muslims, both inside and outside of Minhaj al-Quran, to live as peaceful, law-abiding, moderate, balanced, and conscientious citizens of the UK. Across the nation, young British Muslims affiliated with Minhaj al-Quran have established educational, spiritual, social, health, and mental health services, fostering constructive relationships and collaborating with people of all religions, persuasions, and ethnicities to better their communities. These young British Muslims have developed into outstanding citizens of the UK and great ambassadors of Islam who are actively striving to improve their communities and their country. From my own experience, I can recall being drawn to Huzur Shaykh-ul-Islam's lectures since I was younger. I would observe his charisma and what made his impassioned speeches so unique from others. I would consider what it was about his lectures that captivated me and captivated millions of other people. I thought about how his extensive knowledge, spiritual status, spiritual connections, exceptional academic background, and of course inheriting great oratory skills from his late father have all contributed to his power in delivering each lecture with such structure, precision, clarity, flow, eloquence, devotion, energy, and passion. His lectures are unlike anything you will discover, not even at the world's most prestigious academic or religious institutions, in terms of content, style, oratory prowess, and the effect that they have on your mind, heart, and soul. It's not surprising that he surpassed his peers and everybody, since he was born to be the Mujadid of this Islamic century, and he was born and created to fill a great destiny, to fulfill a tremendous role. Finally, Huzur Shaykh-ul-Islam has now incredibly completed a second translation of the Holy Quran into English. This translation, known as the Manifest Quran, will be introduced by Huzur Shaykh-ul-Islam himself personally on February the 17th at the Harrogate Convention Centre in Leeds in the UK. We have a great opportunity to attend this exclusive conference and sit in his blessed company. The characteristics of this English translation of the Quran is that firstly, it has theological clarity to ensure that non-specialist readers are not misguided with matters pertaining to the Islamic belief. Secondly, it uniquely incorporates explanations of verses with legal rulings within the translated text, providing essential clarifications of the rulings and their implications. Thus again, just like in his first English translation of the Quran, this translation is also safeguarding readers from major misunderstandings and misapplications. Again, this is an incredible achievement and essential for all English-speaking people, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. My final message is that Huzur Shaykh-ul-Islam has contributed enormously, not only towards the Islamic discourse, but overall towards human knowledge. And like I said before, his works are a major contribution to the discourses around human rights, women's rights, counter-terrorism, counter-extremism, and discourses around social and political subjects. So, as his students and members of his organization, we now have a duty and a responsibility to ensure that his works are given maximum visibility in educational institutions, religious institutions, in policy contexts, and media coverage of Islam. Our role now is to make sure that his works reach as many people as possible. Again, I congratulate everyone on the special occasion of Hazur Shaykh-ul-Islam's upcoming birthday. He is indeed the beating heart in all of us. May Allah Almighty, through the wasila of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bless our leader with a long and healthy life, and may we be given the tawfiq and steadfastness to serve this great mission. Wa ma alayna illa al-balagh.
A heartfelt thank you to respected Dr. Samra Mursaleen for well-delivered talk and sharing such insightful perspectives. Your talk has left a lasting impression on us. Undoubtedly, your contribution has made our program truly special. आखिर में हम अपने महबूब कायद की दराज़ी उम्र के लिए दुआ करेंगे। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला सय्यिदिना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमाइन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन। रब्बना आतिना फिद दुनिया हसनतन व फिल आखिरति हसनतन व क़िना अज़ाबन नार। रब्बिग़फिर वरहम व अंत खैरुर राहिमीन। रब्बिरहमहुमा कमा रब्बयानी सगीरा। अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त, ए मेरे पाक परवरदिगार, हम तेरे हुजूर दुआ करते हैं कि हमारे महबूब कायद हुजूर सैयदी शेख-उल-इस्लाम डॉक्टर मोहम्मद ताहिरुल क़ादरी को सेहत व सलामती वाली लंबी उम्र अता फरमा। अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त उनका साया हम पर कायम और दायम रख, उनके खानवादे की खैर हो। मिनहाजुल कुरान को दिन दुगनी रात चुगनी तरक्की अता फरमा। मिनहाजुल कुरान से वाबस्ता हर एक कारकुन, हर एक रफ़ीक और हर एक मेंबर, जुमला कायदीन की खैर फरमा। अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त आलिम इस्लाम पर अपना खुसूसी करम फरमा। फ़लस्तीन और दुनिया भर में जहाँ जहाँ मुसलमान मज़लूम हैं, उनकी मदद फरमा, उनको बातिल कुव्वतों पर गालिब फरमा। ए मेरे अल्लाह, जिस बहन ने इस प्रोग्राम में अपना हिस्सा डाला, अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त उसकी काविश को कबूल फरमा और हम सब की नेक हाजात को पूरा फरमा। तमाम सामीन और नाज़रीन की जो भी जायज़ हाजात हैं, जो भी जायज़ तमन्नाएँ हैं, उनको कबूल फरमा और हमें इस्लाम वाली ज़िंदगी और ईमान वाली मौत अता फरमाना। व आखिरु दावाना अनिल हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला सय्यिदिना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन व अला आलिहि व असहाबिहि अजमाइन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन। आमीन या रब्बुल आलमीन। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।